All right, guys, we are live after the debate. Let me know how the audio is, guys. Um, I just want to make sure it's good before we really get into this.
All right, guys, we are live after the debate. Let
Turn
me
that
know
down,
how the
Mario.
Oh
audio
yeah, I
is,
don't know where.
guys.
Oh, it started playing on my phone. I don't know why it did that. Okay. All right. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, they saying it's good.
Yeah, we're
All
good
right,
to go.
cool. All right, man. So that debate, man. You want to go first with your thoughts, or you want me to go first?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I just thought it was awesome, man. It was perfect. He did exactly what he needed to do. He came out there. I think it was shocking to see President Trump perform like that. I caught one of the guys on Fox saying that was President Trump's best debate performance perhaps ever, considering all the debates he's done, including in the primaries. And I think it was. He never interrupted once. And somebody pointed out in here, right in the chat, saying that anytime he got to respond, it was 10 seconds, Mr. Trump, real quick, 10 seconds, President Trump. And Joe Biden, it was just go ahead, Joe. And he never even mentioned that. He did a good job not attacking the moderator. He even complimented her. I think he came off real well. And I think President Trump was as likable as he could be during that debate while still attacking Joe. I think Joe came off as a little arrogant. He was doing a lot of laughing and clapping and at the end, I think that to totally summarize the debate, I noticed he was looking at his watch for a second. And that was just obviously a nervous tick thing, like, geez, when's this going to end? And that was a dead giveaway to me. I think Joe got his you know what handed to him. And if you were even on the fence and looking for a reason to vote for President Trump, you just found it. And if he didn't win you over tonight, there's nothing he could do.
Yeah, man. I agree with most of that. I said, early on, when President Trump came out, he was very presidential, right?
Mm-hmm.
He came out, he answered the questions, he said everything he needed to do. He didn't talk over Joe. He wasn't disrespectful. He was cordial. It very, very obvious that whatever training that he got, whatever prep that he went over, he took it very serious. He took it to heart and he said, you know what, I'm going to implement this and I'm going to try to win over the moderates and undecideds tonight. And I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And I think he did a great job of executing that. Quite honestly, man, the only thing about it is I just wish he had done this in the first debate. I really do. And that's the way I look at it because, I know, his personality. I know, he wants to, let the American people know what he wants to do. And, sometimes I feel like that can get the best of him. But I feel like tonight he really reined that in and he, really showed us that, you know what, guys, like I can do what I got to do to win this presidency and to win over those people who are undecided. Because honestly, guys, like just to be quite honest with you, a lot of people are undecided because of his personality. They are undecided because of, the apparent demeanor. And a lot of that is on the media, but a lot of that also is on him in terms of trying to not give the media extra fuel for the fire. And I think he did a great job of not doing that tonight. Like I said, he took, Whitlock's advice. Essentially, he
Yeah.
told him let Joe talk, and he
Yeah.
let Joe talk. And I think that was good for him because ultimately, at the end of the day, we can see that Joe Biden really doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have answers on a lot of things, and we're gonna get deeper into that. But that's my initial first reaction. I think he done a great job. This is the best debate I've ever seen from President Trump. I'm just a little sad that he didn't do it earlier. That's the only thing. I just wish he had done it in the first debate. I wish there was another debate. And also, I wish that the debates could be longer. Like we need to get rid of this hour and 30-minute format to talk about 6, 7, 8 topics. That it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We need to have 2 hours and we need to have like 8 to 10 debates where we're talking about each topic in depth for 2 to 3 hours to where we can really get a sound plan in terms of what the presidents are going to do, what the candidates are going to do. And I think that that's a change that needs to be made in the future because these hour and 30 minutes is just not cutting it. You can tell towards the end of the debate that the moderator essentially, she was trying to rush them through the answers. She was trying to let them talk, but at the same time, she was trying to rush them through the answers because she knew that they was running out of time and they only had an hour and a half. And I think that really got in the way of the quality and the substance of the debate. So those are my initial thoughts and reaction.
Yeah, and I didn't notice that, speaking of the topics, I didn't notice that immigration was going to be on there. So I like that that came in because obviously immigration and the economy are really strong suits for President Trump, and they've kind of taken a back seat to race relations and COVID for the past couple months. That's really all everybody's been talking about. So they tried to do that in this debate, just like they did in the first debate. And I like that he brought that up. And something interesting with that is that it seems like Joe Biden said he was for amnesty for 11 million illegal immigrants right now. So that's huge. And then also he got him to mention that he wants to basically be done with oil. He said we got to transition, but he wants oil to be eliminated. So those were two huge positions that I don't think people were sure of before about Joe Biden, and I don't think they're positives. That shows that he's more liberal than he's letting on. And that's what Joe Biden's been trying to avoid with his whole I'm from Scranton and Claymont and he's working class. And that didn't work for him either, the whole kitchen table thing. I loved how Trump pointed out that these are just political cliches that we hear from politicians all the time about sitting at the table with your family. And I'm actually doing these things, Joe. You talked about it for 47 years. I've done it. And I think he did a great job just running on his record and contrasting that with Biden's record. And one is successful and one is failure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that, and I think that's the strong suit because he continuously asks Joe, if you're so great, if you have all these great plans, why have you not done it? You
Right.
had 8 years under Obama. When they talk about the First Step Act, Joe Biden tried to say, "Well, that was our plan." Okay, why didn't Obama sign it? Why didn't you execute it? Immigration, why didn't you sign it? Why didn't you execute it? Um, there's a ton of things that happened in the debate that I think President Trump did a great job of letting people know that this guy is all talk. He's just big talk, but he's no action. He had a chance to execute. You were the vice president of the United States. You were more busy trying to make money in China than you were trying to run America and to run this country. That's really what the issue is. And I think he done an excellent job of really making the case to the American people that you can't believe a thing that Joe says because he's already had a chance to execute it and he did not do it.
Yeah, and Joe actually set him up with a lot of shots there when I think Joe was the one that said, "Oh, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say it." And then he started bringing up stuff about Russia and everything, and he basically set him up to get into the stuff about his son getting money from the mayor of Moscow's wife, and then that kind of went into a whole thing about him getting into these emails on Hunter's laptop. And the story that came out tonight with Tony Boblowski, I can't even think of the guy's name,
Yeah,
but yeah,
Bobolinsky.
my only criticism of President Trump would be that I think he could have done a little better job with that. But I think overall, if you had to go one way or the other, he was better off doing too little than too much on that. So I'm not hugely critical of that because I think he needed to stick to the issues and people are going to look into this enough now. He mentioned it. They know what he's talking about. He didn't need to dwell on that. And he really just set Joe up. And then I thought it was great when Joe said to him, well, the reason we couldn't get that done for prison reform was because we had a Republican Congress. And he thought that was like, that's it. He just said that and shut up. And President Trump said, I got this done with a Democratic Congress. You got to work
Yeah,
with him, Joe. You got to convince
exactly.
him, and that's kind of Reagan-esque there because Reagan had to do that. And I think that Trump is a very pragmatic guy, and he does what he needs to do to get done. He is a good negotiator, and that's why he got prison reform done. He found an issue that's winning with the American people, and he knew they were already behind it, and he got it done, and they didn't. So I think Joe exposed himself, I think, a lot tonight. He looks like an empty suit again.
Yeah, no, he did. And speaking of empty suit, I love the line where Biden started going off about some rant. You know how politicians get a politician speak. I forgot exactly what topic it was, but he started giving a politician speak, and he started talking about speaking in platitudes and generalities. And President Trump was like, "Guys, did you hear that? This man just he didn't say anything. He just started talking like a politician,
Right.
not saying anything, talk about families being at the kitchen table. You you can't get away with that, Joe.
Right.
That's not That's not what a debate is. And he did. Oh, it was on China. That's what it was. He wanted to stop talking about China. And Joe started talking about the families at the kitchen table and giving a politician answer. And I love when Trump hit him on that. It was probably the best moment of the debate, in my opinion, because it really showed how fake these politicians are, and how, it's like when you don't have an answer on something, all you do is BS.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my biggest pet peeves about these debates, is that it's too many times they sit here and they speak in platitudes and they don't really talk about anything. They're not talking about any policies. They're trying to appeal to your emotions. And Trump didn't let Biden get away with that BS, because it was nothing but BS that Biden was saying when he wanted to escape China, because he didn't want to get too deep in it. And you're right. I thought it was weird that Biden leaned into Russia a bit. That was very weird to me, because it's like, bro, if I was you, I would avoid talking about foreign policy at all. I just wouldn't do it. I wish that when Biden was denying it, I wish that President Trump was like, so I have Tony Bobolinsky in the audience, who's a former he was in the Navy. He's a former. He was in the military. Do you want to tell him directly, your son's business associate, that you wasn't a part of it and that you never took any money for China? Do you want to do that right here? And I wish he would have done that. I really wish, because I mean, what's the point of bringing the man to the debate if you're not going to use him as a tool, right there. So
I think it probably did throw Joe off his game, though, too, because he kind of probably in the back of his mind the whole time he was preparing for that moment, and they kind of worked on it and talked it out, and they were telling him, you got to be ready for this. So he never knew when it was going to come. And he did seem, not that he has a good game, but he seemed off, and he started fading. I noticed a lot of people on Twitter saying the meds are wearing off for Joe, his Adderall's, fading or whatever it was, but he really did start to fizzle out. I do think he started strong for who he is, but he really did start to fizzle out towards the end, and he was, stuttering and saying stuff that didn't make as much sense and slipping up. So I think that overall he really was kind of shook the whole time, and he knew some of those times he just stopped talking. Where Trump had got him and he gave a response and he knew it wasn't that good, and then he just let it go back to President Trump because he really didn't have anything to add. He would look at his notes, read what he thought he had to say, and he couldn't ad-lib, he couldn't improvise. Trump was always ready to respond to whatever he said and use the facts against him. He used his record to really crush him. I thought he did on everything. I mean, I think if you're somebody who isn't heavily leaned into one side or the other, it just practically makes more sense to go with President Trump. He looks like the more steady hand. He's been here before. Joe Biden's really never been in charge of anything. President Trump's ran companies, and I wish he would have pointed that out a little more when Joe brought up the taxes, that Joe has lived off taxpayers his entire life, and when he pays taxes, he's just giving taxpayer money back that came to him. President Trump is creating new taxpayers, creating jobs, and I think he could have went a little harder on that. But I mean, overall, I just couldn't be more pleased. He's peaking at exactly the right time. I just checked Predict It right now, where they show state by state odds, and Trump in the last hour, money's getting laid on him, and these states are flipping. He's a favorite now in North Carolina. He's favorite in Florida. He's the odds are dropping for Biden in Pennsylvania. So I think Trump did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's add some structure to this and just talk about each subject in chronological order in terms of what they talked about. Now, obviously, they started debate talking about the coronavirus. And the question was, how would you lead the country against corona? And quite honestly, guys, I'm so tired of talking about corona, COVID, because at this point, to me personally, I'm in the open back up the country crowd, where I think that continuing to have these lockdowns and these shutdowns without any real plan for opening it back up in terms of getting the economy going back open, getting back open and going at full steam, it's just like we just got to open these things back up. And I think it's silly for Joe Biden to continue to ride the fence and to continue to say, well, I'm gonna keep schools. Well, I'm trying to open up schools, and I'm trying to do all this, but at the same time, I'm gonna magically make the virus go away, or that I'm gonna magically reduce the numbers. And it's like, Joe, you can't ride the fence, bro. You
Right.
either trying to shut down the country or you're not, right? Just tell us, are you trying to shut down the country or you're not? Because everything you're saying is literally what President Trump is saying, right? If you listen to exactly what Joe Biden's plan is, one, he doesn't really have a plan, but the things that he says are the exact same things that President Trump has already done. But he's trying to tell us that he's going to do the same thing that President Trump has done, but yet magically the numbers are going to be better.
Yeah.
And I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of the media not addressing this blatant misinformation, this blatant false notion that if you just change presidents but you keep the same plan, that magically things are going to get better. I'm just tired of it. And, I'm disappointed that the moderator didn't make Joe Biden elaborate further on what is your actual plan. And I think she did try to press him on shutdowns, but I think that ultimately he continued to avoid saying that he would shut down the country. His only thing is that his only thing that he has is what President Trump didn't do or what President Trump said. President Trump followed every single thing that the doctors told him to do. President Trump is not a doctor. The CDC came out and was like, masks don't work. That's why Trump was not for masks. Dr. Fauci didn't know what was going on. I mean, come on now. This is the doctor that all you guys are citing, and Fauci was saying the same exact things that Trump was saying at the beginning.
Yeah.
But yet, nobody criticizes Fauci for being off base, but they get on the president whose job is to listen to the doctors for saying things that the doctors are saying.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Fauci is treated like some type of god, even though he's saying the exact same things the president is saying. So, I mean, to me, I just think it's hypocritical that the media continues to act like Joe Biden has a plan on corona when it's obvious that he doesn't. He's not. And it almost makes me want to see don't get me wrong, I don't want a Joe Biden presidency, but it almost makes me want to see it just so what happens under Biden, nothing changes and corona continues to climb, and then we could turn around and blame it on him and be like, Joe, what happened to that magical plan that you had? What happened to all that responsibility that you said you was going to take for this virus? What happened to that control that you said you was going to take, and how much better you thought you said you was going to make it? What happened to all that? Why is the virus still growing? Why we still have more cases? Because we're going to have more cases because we've been testing everybody. We've tested more than anybody in the world. President Trump has said that. And it's almost like these people can't put two and two together when it comes to how testing works and how the death rates work. When you test more and more people are positive, of course you're going to have more deaths attributed to COVID, even though the CDC has already said only 6% of deaths have come from just COVID.
Right. And the thing is about that, like you said, that President Trump, he went after Fauci a little bit because he had to, because everybody knows what he said in his tweets and everything. And he needs to keep pointing that out, that they keep going back to, and Joe did, that he said he knew it was dangerous back in early February, but he didn't want to panic the American people. But February 29th, Fauci was on TV saying, go about your normal life. Don't stop going to gyms. Don't stop going to the movie theater. This isn't something we need to be scared of yet. So either in early February, Fauci didn't know that, and he didn't know the whole month till basically March that this was dangerous, and only President Trump knew. And then that begs the question, if President Trump knew, who told him? How does he know?
Exactly.
But his lead infectious disease expert in the country, who's heading up this coronavirus task force team, he doesn't know, but President Trump did. So if he listened to Fauci, he was wrong. If he went against Fauci, he was wrong. He can't win. I mean, let's face it, there's nothing this guy can do that's right. And getting back to something you said about them seeing what would happen if Biden won, I would take it. I told you this earlier. I think I texted you. I would take a Biden presidency right now. I'll take it if we went back to no conservative censorship and the media acted fairly. Because to me, that's a bigger risk than the Biden presidency. If we keep going down this path, like we saw today, where this story didn't even get covered by anywhere other than Fox, that press conference, and Leslie Stahl in that 60 Minutes interview, she said, how would you verify the laptop? How would you verify the emails? I think she said they can't be verified. When Fox News just called one of the people whose email address it was and said, "Was that you on that email?" They said, "Yeah, that's me. That was our email. Verified." Right? No media outlets did that weren't conservative. So that's terrifying. And I'm seeing tweets all over right after this debate saying Biden won. Oh, he won from start to finish. Oh, he won. And it's like they're going to pump that out. If Biden won this debate, Trump could never win, right? So there's just no honest coverage anymore. And I'm really curious to see tomorrow morning how all the shows are going to spin this.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how the spin is gonna go. But you're right. Trump can't win on the corona topic.
No.
He just can't, because at this point it just doesn't matter what he does. If he would have shut down a whole country and acted like a fascist, by the way, I mean, COVID is the best opportunity for somebody who's truly a fascist to be a fascist. If Trump was a dictator like all these leftists claim that he is, he would have done it under COVID. The man has literally stated, listen, guys, Alabama is different than New York. California is different than Florida. You know, we have to take precautions and different measures based off the states. The biggest mistake that Trump did was believing that Cuomo and Bill de Blasio were competent people who could handle this virus. That's the biggest mistake that he made, because the failure of the Democrat leadership in those states have cost this man, because they turn around and blame their failures on President Trump when they was begging President Trump, "Oh, Trump, can we get ventilators? Hey, Trump, can you give us military help?" Trump did it. Trump did all that. But this man Cuomo and Bill de Blasio are sticking seniors in nursery homes with COVID, sticking them all in the same place, you know, being reckless, causing extra deaths in his state, severely mismanaged. But nobody ever calls them out on that. It's always going to be Trump's fault no matter what, even though you see states like Florida, Texas, that have stayed open for the most part. You know, there's been some lockdowns. There's been some different things they've done, but they haven't closed down like New York. And Trump did a great job making this point. He actually made this point. There's no proof that these lockdowns work. The states that have locked down the most have also been the states that have had the most deaths. They had the most cases. There's no proof that lockdowns work. There's no proof that this is the way to go. We have to live our lives. We have to open up the economy and get back to our lives. Get back to doing what we used to do, and we can live with the virus. And Joe made this line that a lot of liberals are going to say is good, where you're you're learning to die with the virus too. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, man, more people are going to die if we don't open up than they're going to die from this virus, because people have to live. People have to make money. People have to have a strong economy in order to live and have a good life. And at the end of the day, I think President Trump realizes that this is something that's manageable. We're managing it right now. But at the same time, we can't be in this permanent state of shutdowns and social distancing and all this stuff, because it is costing people their livelihoods. It's costing people their jobs. But it's really hard to make that case to the uninformed person and the average person, because they get so caught up on that 200,000 death number, and they don't understand the real numbers behind it, and that 200,000 death number is very, very, very misleading, because we count basically anybody that dies with COVID as a COVID death, regardless of whether or not they actually died from COVID. So it's a really hard argument to make unless you have more nuance behind it. So, I mean, at this point, like I said, it's really a lose-lose. I'm just annoyed by this COVID conversation. I'm honestly tired of having it. And it just really makes me want to see, okay, Biden, what are you going to do? What are you really going to do? Let's see what you do. Let's see if you can handle this better.
And nothing. And Greg, I don't know what happened. My screen just moved over. I noticed that
OBS is tripping.
I'm flying around on the screen. No problem. But the problem is that Biden doesn't have a record on COVID. So the only thing that when they get into it, it's a tough subject for Trump, because all he has to do is he can only go to where Biden attacked him for saying that he was xenophobic and that he shouldn't have shut down travel from China and Europe. And then what's funny is not only did Biden say that, tonight Biden said that, well, 40 other countries did it before you. So he criticizes Trump for saying that he shouldn't have done it. Then he attacks Trump by saying that other countries did it before him, like Trump failed by not doing it even faster, right? Even though the Democrats like de Blasio and Pelosi and, the health commissioner in New York City were out in March telling people to go to Chinese New Year celebrations and partying in the street. So they really have no leg to stand on. And the scary part is that Joe Biden is considering Andrew Cuomo for his attorney general. He pointed to Cuomo tonight to say what a good job New York did rounding this corner. And Trump did a good job of saying 11,000 people just in the nursing homes in New York died. That's more than a lot of countries. And that was just the elderly population. So this guy failed terribly. And he's somebody that you're going to see in a Biden administration. I think without a doubt, if you're a Democrat, they consider this guy a star. He just tweeted that he's on the bestseller list for a book about COVID. I mean, can you imagine? It's unbelievable. It's like the South writing a book on how to win the Civil War or something. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Governor Cuomo put out a book and it's a bestseller on how to fight COVID. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, bro. I 100% agree with that. And that's what annoys me about this conversation because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's impossible to win because President Trump is in the White House and people are going to put more blame on the president than he actually deserves. Just like they're gonna give the president more credit than he actually deserves on a lot of issues as well, too. That's just how politics work. But this COVID thing, honestly, like I said, I do really honestly feel like President Trump has done a good job with it. Like, we have tested more people in the world. Our positivity rate is above World Health Organization standards. Our mortality rate is below Germany. It's below France. It's below Italy. It's below Sweden. It's below all these other countries in Europe that everybody wants us to be like. And for whatever reason, Trump is getting painted as doing a bad job. When if you actually look at the numbers, we're actually doing a great job. When people actually get the virus, they have a very, very high chance of living. And we have not completely nuked our economies the way Europe has nuked their economy in order to fight this virus. And by the way, they're still opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing. We can't do that.
No.
We can't do that. Is that the plan? Is the plan to continue to open and close? And by the way, speaking of that, I mean, they talking about having these lockdowns and masks until 2022. Nah, bro.
No, I know.
No.
And then he said
No.
2023. I mean,
Yeah, no.
this is look, I mentioned it before, but three top epidemiologists came out from Oxford, Stanford, and Harvard. This is their exact field, and those are prominent universities for whatever that's worth to you guys. And they all said that the best way to handle this is do a controlled approach where you focus on vulnerable populations like the elderly, and you let everybody else, like young kids, college students, go out in the world. Then they contract the virus, get no symptoms, they're all immune, and that protects us. And that's the way it should have been handled. And to his credit, President Trump's been on that path the whole time. He wanted the country reopened at Easter, like Biden said. And he's been saying it the whole time. He wanted to reopen and reopen. And that's his point, that what is going to be left to save if you keep going to these shutdowns? I think he said, we don't want to live in a bubble and have plastic up every time Joe's saying the restaurants need this, they need that. Eventually, people want to go back to normal life. And we're just dragging this out by keep staying in these bubbles. So I think he did a great job. And he points it out. 2.2 million was supposed to be the number. It's 90% less than that. What more do you want the guy to do? And again, what would Joe Biden have done? He still hasn't said anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the problems with, opening back up schools, well, the argument for opening back up schools, not that I disagree with it, I think that we should open back up schools because, again, like you said, young people, at this point, the survival rate is 99.9%. Trump mentioned that. They get it. If they get it, they're going to live. They'll be fine. Like, we go to school, we open back up, we move towards herd immunity. But the problem is when people hear that, they say, so you want teachers to die. And it's like, no, we don't want teachers
Joe
to die.
said that,
Obviously,
right? What did he
yeah,
say?
yeah.
Only some of the teachers are going to die.
Yeah. And I'm like, you use COVID as this boogeyman. It's the same way they use racism, the white boogeyman. They use the COVID boogeyman to try to scare people into opening up the economy. And it's like, guys, you don't realize these teachers, if we continue to have low tax revenues, and not opening up schools, these states are gonna cut these teachers' jobs.
Absolutely.
Do you want to? Do you not want? Do you don't want to have a job? Do you want a job or you not? Because if you're a teacher and you're sitting here asking about, okay, should we go back to school? I'm scared of getting COVID. What they've been telling you to wear a mask. Okay, stay away from the kids. Don't be hugging them. Don't be touching them. Keep it away from you. Have socially distanced teaching. And I think
Greg,
Trump even
somebody
mentioned
popped
that.
in here. Sorry to interrupt. They said turn your mic up, Greg. So just if you can go up a little. I hear you great, but I got you coming through my mic, so I don't know how it's coming off. But
Okay.
thanks for whoever said that. Scott Rogan. Scott, let us know how he sounds after you turn it up a little.
Yeah.
Just to make sure you're coming in good.
Yeah. So, like I said, teachers want, it's like have socially distanced teaching. Okay? Like nobody's asking you to go hug the students and to, you be super close with them or anything like that. Obviously you open up schools with precautions. You don't just open back up school like, obviously you might get rid of PE, you might not do recess. You have as little contact as you can, but at the same time, we have to open up. And yes, we have to protect our teachers at the same time, but that doesn't mean that we can't have teachers in the classroom teaching these students. We need to. Parents are sitting at home with their kids because their kids are home and they can't go to school. And these kids, these parents can't afford daycare. They can't go to work because of that. What you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. No,
what are we supposed to do?
you're 100%
Right?
right. And I think that's where the majority of the country is, that people want COVID to be taken seriously, but they don't want it to
Don't.
control their lives. And you can't do what we're doing and sustain a country, right? And even these businesses can't. How many more shutdowns can they take? They said something like we were losing up to 30 and 40% of, restaurants, different business. They can't even reopen. So there's only so many times you can go through this. And then you're creating such a strain on the system between these extended unemployment benefits and more, Medicare and people that need to be, on government assistance, that eventually it's going to collapse because there's only so many people that can provide and pull the rest of the country forward. We need everybody moving forward and taking care of their families. That's what they want. There's some people out there that will stay on unemployment forever if they can, but most people want to get back to work and want to provide for their families. They want their kids back in school. And I think that Biden has been very clear that he'll shut down as many times as he needs to. And I don't think in the next 4 years Trump would ever shut down again. He might find ways to slow things down or say, hey, let's go to 75% capacity or 50%. But I don't think you'll ever see a full shutdown in this country again if he wins. With Biden, I think it's guaranteed.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, no, we're not shutting down again. We're not doing that. I'm not for it. It's one of those things where if you talk to me about shutting down, I'm tuning you out. I'm tuning you out. I'm just not doing it. All right, so let's move on to Corona, and then they started talking about Russian interference, and again, this is why I thought that this is what I thought Biden. I'm like, okay, this might be Biden trying to hang himself. And he actually brought up the Russian disinformation. He tried to bring up the conversation by talking about, well, what Trump's talking about is Russian disinformation. And oh my God, man, I'm so tired of this. I'm tired of the meeting. I mean, there has to be a case study on how the media is going to cause a civil war if Donald Trump loses, because Trump supporters and Republicans are going to be so pissed about the lack of media coverage for the corruption of Joe Biden leading up to the election and how biased the media coverage has been going up into the election, that they're going to take a lot of the responsibility. I mean, they want to say that President Trump incites violence and President Trump, encourages people to be, to behave in an irrational way. But it's really the media, because the media spins everything that he says and they don't do their jobs. And this whole Russian disinformation thing is one of those things where they're not doing their job. John Ratcliffe, the director of national intelligence, came out and said that this is not Russian disinformation. Okay?
Right.
And so the thing is that if you keep saying that it's Russian disinformation and you're citing 50 anonymous sources, nobody wants to step forward and say who exactly said it. Nobody wants to put their name behind it. but the Democrats want to keep signing it. How is it true?
Right.
How is it true? How do we know it's true? Why are we supposed to believe anything that you're saying?
Let's. I see Tanisha Williams just sent a super chat here relevant to this, saying that Hunter's business partner did that live interview, and he said Joe Biden knew about it, received the money. That story is so huge, and that's why I said that. Just imagine if it was reversed right now and somebody came out. This is more credible than anything they did in the impeachment proceedings, right? Anything they did with that Ukraine phone call. This is a guy who they hyped up, that Vindman guy or whatever the general was during the impeachment. This guy was a colonel in the Navy, this business partner here. He's a registered Democrat. He said he's only donated to Democrats, and he turned over all those phones and everything to the FBI, and he just put himself out there. And what he's getting for it, I don't know. I'm not even questioning that right now, but let's at least see if it's true. To say that that's not a story and that no media covered it and the moderator never brought it up, if this was President Trump, he's finished. If this story was about Don Jr., it's over. Republicans would be turning on him right now. Lindsey Graham and all the rest of them would be lining up to denounce President Trump. And the fact that it didn't even get brought up just shows you how bad it is. And they're still bringing up Russia with nothing. Like you said, with no proof to tie this to Russia whatsoever. And they come out with that. I mean, this is terrifying to me, because all I want is fairness. I want the rules to be the same, and I think we'd win easily. I think we're winning now with the system being so much in their favor, with Hollywood, the media, with everybody. Everybody's lined up behind them, and I think we're winning.
Yeah, I agree on that. It's just, before this debate, like he said, I mean, we've said it, there was no media coverage on this. They will cover the people that are reporting on the Hunter Biden story to discredit them, but they won't actually report on what they're actually reporting. And like you said, all we ask for is fairness. That's all we're asking for, guys.
Right.
I'm not asking you necessarily to take our side, but I'm asking you to report on it. I'm asking you to tell the American people that Hunter Biden potentially had CP on his laptop.
Right.
That there is again, a military man from the Navy who came out and said he was Hunter Biden's business partner, who corroborated the emails, who verified that they're true. And he's saying, hey, yes, we was in this partnership where the big guy was Joe Biden, and he was getting money from China through the company. It was going to Hunter, and then from Hunter, it was going to Joe. All you got to do is report it. I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm just asking you to be a journalist and look in it. You don't even want to do your basic job.
Right. Let the people decide. I mean, but at least that to not have that covered, that was live. I guess that's the standard should be reverse it. Just pretend, tell CNN right now, Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop was turned in. He had it. He was doing business in the last couple of years while his father was president, saying the big guy, and somebody comes out and says, I was in those emails. The big guy's Donald Trump. Okay? He was saying he needs to hold money for his dad. That would be bigger than all the stories they had to go after Trump. So if they don't even report it, they could at least try to spin it and downplay it. I get that they're a little locked into a side. Fine. Fox is the same way. But there's no way, if this was reversed and that went live, that Fox wouldn't have covered that. That's the difference. There is no way that they wouldn't have been covering that press conference. That's impossible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Beautiful Bliss says, I'm confused. Can you explain to me if this is real Russia or another Hillary-like scam? This is real in terms of the Hunter Biden scandal. Like I said, there's been emails found by the New York Post on Hunter Biden's laptop / hard drive that apparently is in possession for the FBI now. But these emails that were found basically are incriminating Hunter Biden on doing business deals in Ukraine and using his father's influence to basically get kickbacks to be on a board for a company that he knows nothing about, in an industry he knows nothing about. There's also emails linking Hunter Biden doing business deals in China, in which Joe Biden was also getting kickbacks for that as well. And remember, and I wish Trump would have brought this up at the debate when they was talking about Ukraine, when Joe Biden was denying it, he should have said, well, Joe, you are bragging about firing the prosecutor who was investigating the company that your son works for. That's what he should have said, because if he would have hit him with that line, Oh, he there's nothing he could have said.
Well, but you know what he has been saying, and this is what blows my mind, is that he says that that was official U.S. policy, and that's what the Democrats and everybody say. And it's sickening because all to make it official policy, all he needs to do is get President Obama's blessing. So that's why when he tells that story, and he said the Ukrainian guy, when he told the president fire that prosecutor, he said, "Well, you're not the president, you're the vice president." He goes, call Barack, call President Obama. So now that he has his blessing, okay, it's official business. So all he needed to do is tell Obama, look, I want to get this guy fired. Give me your blessing. And now it's okay. The same logic they used by saying Joe said he turned over his tax returns and there's no money in there from China or the Ukraine. Has any criminal ever put illegal money in their tax returns? Like, if that's the case, it would be pretty easy to get all these people laundering money and all these drug dealers and everybody, because they'll just report it right in their tax return and put Coke sale. Like, you know what?
Yeah,
Prostitution.
exactly.
Right? Like, what is he talking about? How stupid do they think we are? I mean,
That's what I'm saying. They the media. That's the most offensive part. The media think we so stupid. Like they think you're so dumb, and they might be right. The left might be that dumb. But the people on the right obviously are not that stupid. We don't buy into things of that nature, and that's why we've done so hard to look into this story, and that's why I've covered this story so much on my channel, because it's legit. I'm not gonna lie. I was skeptical at first. I was skeptical. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were skeptical.
right.
But as it started to develop, as more evidence started to come out, it became a lot more legit. And now I'm at the point where I'm pissed off that the media is not covering it. Again, I don't ask you to take a side. I'm just asking you to cover it. I'm asking you to be a journalist. I'm asking you to look into it and to give it a serious look, because you guys beat us over the head for 3 years about Russia, Russia, Russia. And then we found out that Hillary made it all up. And you guys knew that Hillary made it up. You knew it was BS. You spent 3 years asking Trump about Russia based off BS, a Steele dossier that had Trump getting golden showers from Russian prostitutes, and you thought that was legit.
Right.
But you don't think a military man that was in the Navy that said he worked with Hunter Biden in the emails. And also, by the way, Fox News has found emails linking Kamala Harris and a bunch of other Democrats like Amy Klobuchar, Cuomo, to these business deals as well. So the whole Democrat Party might be bought and sold by the Chinese government at this point. And they could have been in on this as well. And I found that today. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did hear that she was mentioned in there and somehow implicated in that. I didn't get the details, but I don't know if this guy's trolling us or if he's on our side or what, but he said talk about the 50 people that said Joe Biden was not guilty of the scam, also said they had no evidence that was true. Well, those 50 people are former intelligence people who were there, who are the same people who told us that the Russia thing was real, and the same people that were part of telling us that what's his name, Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and we went into Iraq. These are all those failed people from those neocon administrations between the Clintons and between the Bushes and all these administrations who were failures, and they're trying to cover their own tracks. Because I think everybody should remember this, that Joe Biden is trying to become president right now to save himself, right? He wants to be able to pardon his people. This all ends for Biden and the Obamas and Hunter, as Biden's whole family, if he gets elected. This is over. They're going to put in their own attorney general that's going to be Andrew Cuomo, and it's over. So they're trying to save themselves right now. And it's like Hillary said before, that we're all going to hang for this or whatever. We're going to get the chair if he wins. And they still haven't done it. For whatever reason, I don't know why Barr hasn't done something. I think there's something else still coming. I think the way this election season has been, that 12 days or whatever we got left seems like an eternity after what happened today. Think in a day or two we might get something explosive, somebody's indicted, but I don't think our October surprise has come yet. But again, these people are covering themselves. So those 50 people, they're probably, we're in on all this stuff. They're trying to cover themselves. They're all out of the deep state now, and they're coming out in support of Joe Biden. What they say means nothing to me.
I'm going to keep it 100 with you. 50 people that's anonymous. Not one person has the cojones to come out and say who their name is, who they are, or to support So I don't care, and I'm ignoring it because you're anonymous. So that means you mean nothing to me, and
What
that's
do you
it.
guys do? You guys mean something to me if you go subscribe right now. I'm seeing we're peaking up at 460 people. So somebody click on that blue thing on my name and help me because I'm dying out here. Okay? As
Yeah,
I
you
haven't
guys,
I haven't gotten 400 subscribers in a month.
subscribe to Mario. Subscribe to Mario. He plugged himself. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna plug
I
him
had
too.
no choice,
Subscribe to
man.
Mario. No, I get you.
Desperate. I'm hungry.
We getting up there. So I want Mario to make sure he gets some subscribers. But yeah, man. So Biden on this same topic brings up Trump's taxes. And honestly, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. This was honestly a great strategy by Biden because what he did was is that it was obvious he bought up the taxes to get off of the conversation when it comes to Russia and Ukraine and China. And he bought it up, and honestly, I think Trump took the bait on it because Trump started talking about how he prepaid in taxes, which is honestly a great explanation for the $750 paying $750 in taxes. I think that he really clearly laid out like, listen guys, this is how it works. I prepaid millions of dollars, guys. Like this is how it works. Like you can't just look at the headline and believe what the headline is. But I think he spent way too much time on the taxes. He spent way too much time on it. He should have kept hitting him on Russia. And he did a great job because initially he came out firing. He was like, listen, you took $3.5 million from Putin, aka the richest woman in Russia, who's widowed, which means it had to come through Putin, right? You ain't getting that much
Hmm.
money out of there without going through Putin, not to an American. And I think he did a good job bringing it up, but he also, I think, fell for the bait when Biden brought up the taxes, and I think he did took too much time trying to defend himself on it. Because quite honestly, the left does care about it, but I think at the end of the day, it's not really that big of a deal. I mean, the man's a businessman. Just be like, listen, I pay millions of dollars of taxes up front. That's how it works. That's business. If you don't understand it, I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, so back to Russia and Ukraine, and I think he should have done that. But that was just my take on that.
Yeah, and again, I wish he would have just pointed out that Joe Biden, literally, you have to think about this. This guy was 29 years old when he ran for Senate, and since then he's never had a real job. So from 29 to damn near 79 years old. So we're talking 50 years this guy hasn't had a job, and all the income supposedly he was making was taxpayer money. But we see somehow on 100 grand a year, whatever his salary was, he's got a $2.7 million beach house. He's got this house. He's got that house. I mean, so clearly he's got some other income coming, but still, he's never paid taxes. So to question Trump, who his whole life has been paying millions in taxes and creating jobs and helping other people pay taxes, what he's put into the system versus what Biden took out, there's not even a comparison.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he should have been like, Biden, did you pay taxes on that $3.5 million
Yeah.
that your son, you
Yeah,
got
yeah.
from
Did you
Russia?
did you
Like
guys
on
claim
that.
that it's not on your return, Joel? What's going on?
Yeah, what's up with that,
Where's
man? You
your
need to.
10% of Hawk in China or whatever it was? And what about that he still claims that he didn't talk any business with his son about anything, yet his son flew with him on Air Force 2 15 hours to China to go to a business meeting with some Chinese whoever they were, corporations, and he didn't talk to him once about what he's doing there and why he's going. As Joe would say, come on, man. You got a nice super chat there. You got to take that, Greg.
Yeah, yeah. A Delio, I think that's how you pronounce it, says tax distraction only works on sheeple, which there's a lot of, unfortunately. That is true. One weekend on TurboTax can teach you the ignorant mountains of their own finances. Love the convo, by the way. Yeah, and this is why I spend a lot of time on my channel trying to educate people. And I know my audience is generally educated, but there are people that run across my videos that aren't really educated. But I spend a lot of time talking about taxes, talking about investing, talking about things that I feel like people should be educated on so we can have educated conversations. And that means we can be more educated about what the media is feeding us specifically regarding Trump's taxes and things of that nature. So yes, a lot of people are uneducated on taxes and they fall for it hook, line, and sinker every single time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So after that, they got into Yeah, and this is when they start talking about China. This is where Biden essentially started, giving the platitudes and the politicians speak about, families at the kitchen table and all that BS. And I think Trump did a great job of calling him out on that and trying to avoid that conversation, which was good. Did you want to speak anything else on China?
No, just that I think that it's important to point easy on China. Joe.
Yeah, yeah. Hold on, let me fix your screen real quick. And I also want to, yeah, I was going, I'm gonna eventually get that other software going. But when you got something working, you don't really want to mess with it too much. But hold on. Let's see, no audio. Mic died. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on real quick. All right, mic check, mic check, mic check. All right. It's more okay. All right, I'm gonna exit and come back.
I'm here. Hopefully they can hear me again. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, can you guys hear me? We're back. You got me? Okay. All right. Yes. They said yes, we can. Yes. Can hear you. Yeah, I see me. Okay. Baba Booey. Roger. 10-4. Copy. Hey, it could be outside interference, Steve. That's what I think. We we were we had almost 500 people, and then they cut us out right when we were going good. I can see you now too, Greg. Now just gotta adjust that.
Yeah, man.
Here we go. So it looks like the Russians just got to us.
All right.
Uh,
It says I'm clear.
yeah, they said they can only hear me. You guys hear Greg? Greg, you there?
Yeah, yeah. Audio is good. They say audio is good. All right.
Okay.
We can go ahead and continue. All right. So, somebody said no. Please speak. I'm speaking right now. Now it's working. All right.
Yeah, I
So it
think
looks like mine's is working. All right. There you are. All right. Great. All right. So what I was actually going to do, when we before we got off, I actually was gonna. Somebody had a comment where let me try to find it here and pay attention to the chat, Mario, just to
Yeah, do
make
you
sure the
guys have
sound is coming.
someone said gurgling again. And then someone else said all good now. All good, it's working. Thumbs up. I don't know, Dan, where that was coming from. Um, Ashley said thumbs up.
All right. I was looking at a chat that said I can't find it, but anyways, somebody said that they was listening to the Daily Wire's post-bait analysis, and they said that we were better than them. And I just want to say, yes, we have the best post debate analysis on the internet. I don't care what anybody says. We're killing it. I think me and Mario are a good team, and if you want to, like I said, we're not gonna have any more debates, but we both have the best political analysis on the internet. And when I say that, come to my channel for the best political analysis post debate, I really mean that. I'm not just capping to try to get an audience. I'm actually really telling you, like, nobody's gonna break it down like we break it down.
It's true, man. We call it exactly how it is, and honestly, that's why people like President Trump, and I think we need the same analysis. And like I said, we want a media that's like that too. Just tell us the truth. That's what we do. I tell you when I say, geez, Trump could have done that better. Or you know what? Joe Biden had a stronger night than I was expecting. Just be honest. Not everything's going to work out the way we want it. But if I sit here and just call everybody names and tell you guys exactly what you want to hear, then I'm not helping you at all. That's not the way it's got to be. Fortunately for us on our side, the facts just tend to work in our favor, right? It's like when we just tonight they talked on both their records. Donald Trump looked better because he's had a better career and he's done a better job as president in 3 years than Biden and Obama's administration did in 8. So that's just the facts. But we're gonna always try and keep it as straight as we can with you guys and not sit here and just be some, bootlickers. That's not the type of people we are.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not.
Yeah, I actually did a video the other day on the Republicans in the stimulus package, which they talked about it in the debate too. So I think this is a good segment into that, in which they asked President Trump, why is the second stimulus package hasn't been passed yet? And I thought this was interesting because President Trump again pointed out Nancy Pelosi, right? Nancy Pelosi is not working in the best interest of American citizens. They're not. And at this point, it is becoming very. Hold on now. They're looking at saying the sound is messed up again. Hold on.
Yeah, and then somebody said I'm lagging. Man, we should break.
Dude, honestly, it's OBS. That's what it is, honestly. And go talk
Someone
again,
else
Mario.
said no, it's not. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
I say it's not
Is
lagging.
it not? Okay. Love your channel. Just recently found you are great. Yeah, he is, Jane. I'm great too. So,
All right,
there's one more sub.
And then Nemesis lagging again. So
is it? Damn.
I mean, it's like, I don't know, man. Some people saying it sounds fine, but yeah, guys, I promise I'm gonna get a supercomputer that's gonna be able to handle all this very, very, very well.
A lot of people are
And
saying it's perfect. Don't hear lagging. All good. Clear. No lag.
Yeah,
I don't know. We just gotta go.
Just,
Whoever this is good
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. But I promise. But I promise. I'm gonna improve my setup. Like I said, I'm working through it. You guys can see I upgraded my lighting.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one thing at a time. So the live streams are gonna get better. It's just I'm working with what I got for right now.
Yeah, I got a new camera too, man. I was using the internal, MacBook, whatever it is, camera. Now I got this external. If you guys help us out, I'll get a whole studio built.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. So he talked about Nancy Pelosi not accepting the stimulus package, and he's right about it. He's 100% right about that, because she is holding it up for the sole reason of trying to make President Trump look bad before the election, and I think he did a great job of doing that. Biden, on the other hand, he continued to deflect, and he basically was like, yeah, we passed it back in the first one, but they've had the Heroes Act passed through the House since June or whatever. But what he failed to mention is that the Heroes Act was like $3.4 trillion. Who's spending $3.4 trillion? You know what I'm saying? Like, it, it's almost like Biden is he's leaving out key facts. He's almost forgetting how government actually works, where you have to get it through the House first before it goes to the Senate. Now, I'll be the first person to tell you, I mean, like I said, I don't know if the Republicans are going to pass it through the Senate. Honestly, I just don't know. I think that Mitch McConnell is, he's a physical conservative. He doesn't want to spend that much money. If it was up to him, he'd probably spend $500 billion and keep it moving. And there are reports that come out that he may not pass it through the Senate. So we'll have to see. But the only way we can see is for Pelosi to go ahead and move through. That's the only way we can see it. So, my thing is this. If Nancy Pelosi was politically smart, she'd just go ahead and pass the stimulus and put it in McConnell's hands. That's what she would do if she's actually smart. But you can't sit here and make this argument about McConnell when you are not doing what you have to do to actually get the stimulus passed in the first place so it can actually get to the Senate floor. Now, what I think she's probably going to try to do is that she is probably going to try to pass it at the last minute and then make the Senate prioritize between Amy Coney Barrett and getting this stimulus package passed. And I think that's what she's going to do, to try to say, well, I didn't wait before the election. We got it done before the election. Honestly, I think that's what's in the cards. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that they come to an agreement next week, and then it's going to be hell next week with the Senate trying to balance Amy Coney Barrett in the stimulus.
Yeah, and that's their whole thing, right? Is that it's weird because the House is going to do whatever they need to do to hold the House, right? So that's what Pelosi's going to do, and the Senate's kind of thinking the same thing because I think the Democrats aren't really confident that Joe Biden's going to win. All right, they know what happened in 2016. They know that this only comes down to a couple states. And I think their biggest concern is keeping that House so they can make the next 4 years for Trump just like they did the last 4 years. They'll probably, I think it's guaranteed. I'd bet my life that they will impeach him again if he gets another term. So they want to hold that House at all costs. And if they make the calculation that passing some bill right now is going to help some of their candidates win, they're going to do it. The same thing with the Senate. If they think they're in jeopardy because they only need to lose 3 seats, and they're going to lose the majority. So they don't want to do that either. So I think they're going to do whatever it takes. And I think both sides are going to agree that passing something is better for both. I don't think it's going to play well for the Democrats to let this fall apart.
Oh, absolutely not. It's not going to play well for them. It's definitely not. And, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I just think that, the media up until recently has done a terrible job actually giving fair coverage when it comes to this stimulus package. And like President Trump said, it's like, I'm the president, I only can do so much. We have to work with both sides in order to get this done. And I'm trying to work with Pelosi, but Pelosi doesn't want to come to an agreement. And the House has pushed her to come to an agreement. But like I said, again, I saw a poll that basically said that the blame is going down 50% between between Pelosi and Trump in terms of how Americans are looking at the blame. And I'm like, bro, if you're objective, how can you blame President Trump for this at all? Because he's not the one holding it up. You got to understand how government works. They've inched up to 1.9 trillion at this point. The Democrats are still, they're at 2.2 trillion. So they're still about 3 or 4 billion away from, coming to an agreement. But at some point, the Democrats need to, let go of, getting all this money for these cities that have been destroyed by these riots and protests, and trying to get money for illegals and all other types of things that are not actually COVID related. I mean, how much more money do we need to spend? I mean, guys, our national debt is like at 28 trillion, guys, right? Like we are spending, like, our deficit is like what, 3.5 trillion. We're spending money out the ass. We cannot continue to print money at this rate. And if we're going to spend this much money, at some point, we got to open up fully. Because if we don't open up, we're just going to continue to spend money, and then they're going to say, well, I thought the Republicans were supposed to be deficit hawks, when the Democrats are
Right.
basically forcing us to spend money that we don't have because they want to continue to have continuous lockdowns forever, which forcing us to keep the economy propped up. So something's got to give.
Yeah, and think about it that we flipped out. I think everybody did back in, 2008, 2009 when the financial crisis happened, that it was like 787 billion, that stimulus, and everybody was going nuts like this is almost $1 trillion. We don't support this, but this is like a exceptional circumstance. We need to save the country. So both sides were behind it, but there still were some hardline conservatives, that were saying this isn't the way. Things need to fail. This is what needs to happen. You need to let the free market handle itself. But we kind of all sucked it up for the most part, the majority of the country, and accepted it. Now you had what, 2.4 trillion, 1 trillion, right? We're pumping out things that are 3 times bigger than that, and nobody's batting an eyelash. And now we're talking about another one. And all what happens is when you print money like this, you're really stealing from the little guy, right? Because if you saved 100,000 your whole life and you got it in a retirement account or something, wherever you got it, maybe it's your house, and then all of a sudden there's twice the money supply. Eventually, that's like 50,000 now, right? Because it loses its purchasing power. That's okay for the guy that's got 10 or 20 million, and now instead of 20 he's got 10, or instead of 10 he's got 5, right? But the guy who had that 100 and that was his little nest egg, it's 50 now. So printing this money like this is going to catch up to us, pumping all this sugar out there to prop up the economy, and we're going to be suffering in the next couple years once it all catches up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna make a video about this, but these Democrat cities and states like New York City and California are gonna go broke. They're gonna go broke, especially if Biden is elected president and he raises those taxes and gets those marginal rates up to 60+%, which is gonna be in New York and in California. Everybody with money is moving out of that state. They're moving out
Yeah.
because
And
those people are the ones that support the economy when it comes to paying the most taxes. So now what happens with COVID is that not enough people are talking about corporate real estate, guys. These offices are empty. These companies have realized, and this happened in 2008 as well too. When crashes happen, when disasters happen, companies get smarter. Companies learn how to manage their businesses more. They start to realize, oh, we don't really need this fancy office building. We can save $1 million a year, 2 million, $3 million a year by not renting this building out. That's money that can go in our pockets. That's money that we can reinvest back in our company. That's money that we can do anything with. We don't need this, right?
mm-hmm.
So a lot of buildings in New York are going to be empty. With the excessive tax rates under Joe Biden, a lot of people are going to move out. And then you're going to find yourself with a city with no revenue that has massive, massive public services that need to be funded. And who's going to be there to fund them? The poor people, the people that don't have the means to move out. They're the ones that's going to be holding the bag when it comes to paying these taxes.
Right.
And a lot of people are not talking about it enough is that COVID has caused these companies to be smarter about how they spend their money.
Right.
Joe Rogan has moved out of California. Ben Shapiro's moved out. Jason Whitlock has moved out of California. He's moved to Tennessee. Moving Tennessee, Texas, Florida. That's where people are going. These states are going to go broke. They're going to go broke. And especially under Biden. So y'all saying keep talking about wanting to have lockdowns forever. And these liberal states, these liberal politicians, you're going to go broke. It's a double-edged sword, man.
Yeah, it is, and the thing is, that's why there's this part of me, and I know, look, I want President Trump to win. I'm voting for him. I went to the inauguration. I've been on board. I was going to rallies back during the primaries, so I support him 100%. But there's a part of me that wants Biden to win and wants to see the country go through some harder times. So we never let something like this happen again, and we kind of do it now because we're moving towards that. It's only a matter of time, whether it's after Trump or it's in one more term. Maybe we win a third term if Trump does really well here, and you get somebody that's like a Mike Pence who's just a toned down guy, that's more palatable for the general public, that we get one more. But the way the demographics are going in the country and the way that Hollywood and culture is moving things, we're going to start losing eventually. It's close. It's getting real close. So I want people to learn the hard way sooner than later. because eventually it's all going to come crashing down. So, yes, I want President Trump to win, but if he loses, I think that it's what the country needs to wake up, because once you start putting people like AOC, she's heading up a committee and she's helping create real policy, and people like Bernie Sanders, then I think people are going to get that reality check and the Republicans are going to grow big time and the country's going to do a lot better once we get that taste of reality. But they're in la la land because it's Joe Biden talking about all these ideas. Trump's living it. I still don't know what he's going to do with COVID, like you said. So they just put all these beautiful things like we're going to keep the country open and kids are going to go back to school and we're going to be safe. How?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Exactly.
Go do it.
We're gonna repeal Trump's tax cuts, but taxes aren't gonna go up. How does that work?
Right.
Right, like
Right.
and that's what pisses me off about the media when it comes to his coverage or their coverage of Biden's tax cuts. It's like they're covering it as if Biden never said anything about repealing all of Trump's tax cuts. People don't realize Trump cut marginal rates for every tax bracket except the 35% and the 10%. So by definition, if you roll back the Trump tax cuts fully, everybody's taxes are going up except the 10%. That's how it works. It's basic math, guys.
Right.
And
And then
go ahead.
they try to play that game by saying that they're going to pay for, health care, and they're going to pay for all these things. And that when the way Bernie has tried to describe it and Joe's trying to do the same thing is saying, no, your taxes aren't going up because you're getting more, but your taxes are going up. But they're trying to say, well, you're actually going to have more money because then the things you're spending them on, you're going to get for free after they raise your taxes, right? So it's some type of game they like to play, but at the end of the day, you will take home less money with Democrats. There's no way to pay for all this new clean energy and give 11 million illegals health care and, all the other pie in the sky stuff they're talking about unless everybody's taxes go up, because the rich people are always going to find a way to avoid paying taxes. That's what they do. They'd rather give the money to their accountant and to get the money before they're going to give it to the government, because they see how they waste our money. So it's the burden is going to fall on the middle class.
Yeah, absolutely. It is gonna fall on middle class, and the obvious answer to me in terms of how they're gonna avoid it straight up is just move out of these high tax states, and I think that's gonna kill these liberal states and their liberal dreams. So, all right. So let's touch on a little bit more foreign policy. Let's talk about North Korea a little bit. I thought that was an interesting exchange. I think Trump made a great statement when he said, "Listen, guys, sometimes it's cool to be friendly with your enemies." And that was an excellent statement because I'm a big believer in knowing your enemy, right? If you're not, how can you beat your enemy if you don't know your enemy,
Hey,
right?
that's the Godfather, man. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Like
Exactly.
you
And
got it.
The Obama Biden policy was that, well, Kim Jong Un, listen here, we're not going to talk to you unless you agree straight up to not to build nuclear weapons. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. Uh, North Korea wants nuclear weapons to keep us from invading them. That's just what it is. That they don't want us to invade them, so they're gonna build nuclear weapons to deter us from going in there because we want to take this man down at any cost. That's just the truth. And I think President Trump realizes that. He says, okay, we're not gonna go anywhere with these guys because they're gonna build nukes regardless. If we don't talk to them, it's better to be friendly with them or to attempt to be friendly with them and to build some type of relationship rather than to keep standing off with them and when they're gonna build nukes anyways. Um, and he did a great job on that. I mean, it's the same thing when people try to get on Tulsi Gabbard about meeting with Assad. I'm like, why? Why do you like? Of course you should meet with Assad. Of course you should know the enemy. Like, how are we supposed to fight Syria? How are we supposed to know what's going on when we won't even meet with the leader? And again, Joe Biden keeps pushing this policy of we don't talk to certain people, and it's like, bro, you're not a leader. You're not a leader to
Right.
me. I want my leader to be in enemy territory, getting to know the enemy. And this is why, and I'm gonna bring this up real quick, but I ain't gonna spend too much time on it. This is why people like LeBron James are jokes to me. When they talk about how they don't want to meet with Trump because he's a bum, how are you supposed to lead me somewhere against the enemy that you don't even know?
Right.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, your thoughts?
Yeah, take like you would put out a video on that, But Ice Cube, what he said was, I'm going to go with whoever's got the power that can get things done. So if we have a problem with North Korea and we're trying to work it out and we're trying to avoid a war and we want to see what this guy's all about and he's in this closed off country, right? And you can go meet with the guy and step foot on his soil and see what he's about and come back and get a psychological read on him. And I think President Trump's got that guy where he wants him. You remember they had that meeting and he said something about let's make us look nice and thin. And then he looked over at Kim Jong Un, just like, the guy's not a thin guy, but he says that. And he knew they translated it to him. And it was his way to take a shot at him, but he acted like he was saying it about himself too, and it's like Kim Jong Un knows he's the type of guy that is going to say whatever he needs to him and do whatever he needs to. So I think he's got him in check now. I would be much more terrified if we were still under Obama and Biden and they were provoked in any way. Now I think they wouldn't dare do something to Donald Trump. He knows how to psychologically mess with people, or even how he does that pulled in handshake with a lot of different world leaders where he jerks them in and grabs them real hard, or he pushed the one guy out of the way to get in front in the photo. These little things they think is a joke on TV and they laugh and say the president is embarrassing or he does, but these are all things he's learned in the corporate world when he's had meetings with investors or he's went to different countries to try and close a deal. And these are things that he's played out and they've worked, because really the only difference between politics and real business is that in politics, they're just playing with other people's money, right? When they're negotiating these deals. But in the real world, Trump was using his money and he was, getting investors who had something on the line, and he knows how to negotiate. And that's why we're in such a good position. It's not a secret that 80% of the people in Europe want Joe Biden. Iran wants Joe Biden. China wants Joe Biden. So literally everyone in the world, because Trump is putting America first, like he said. The world knows that Trump is better for the United States, but the whole world's going to suffer to put us first. And that's the way every leader should be. But they don't got that. They don't got it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I'm gonna move along just because it's getting a little lengthy here. I don't want to keep you guys all night, so we just gonna kind of speed through some things. All right, so they started talking about after North Korea. They started talking about healthcare, and Trump hit Biden again. This is why I think is a great strategy for Trump. Make Biden choose. Are you with the far left or are you not? Do you support universal healthcare or you don't? Do you want socialized medicine or you don't? And I think Trump did a great job of making Biden take a stance to say that, hey, I want a public option. I want Biden care. I want to extend Obamacare and go from there. So I think Trump did a great job of flexing that strategy. And I think a lot of far left liberals are going to look at that and be like, that's not enough. We want universal health care. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's opening that door. That look, what I wish that Trump and the Republicans would focus on, that where they talked about having this safety net. And if you really look into how Medicaid works, if you got like a family of four and you're earning less than like $50,000-$60,000 a year, whatever, you're getting full health care coverage. By the time you take your regular deductions, everything, it's like the way they got it set up in a lot of these states. I don't know, some states have different thresholds, but I know like New York or any of these blue states, it's like they already got it. So they're the ones that want this health care so bad that that's government health care and they got it. But when he's saying this public option, he wants it to compete. And what's going to happen is they're going to make it cheaper at first, right? So it's everyone's going to want to go for it because they're going to say, oh, you're getting the same coverage and it's cheap, until they drive out these private companies, right? And then they become unaffordable, these other companies, because they can't compete with that because it's subsidized. Like they said, the post office loses money, right? So if the post office just started saying, hey, we're going to send packages for $1 and the cheapest UPS can do it for is $5, eventually they're wasting our tax money, losing money, and UPS goes out of business, and now all you got is the post office, right? And that's what they could do with healthcare. That if they start saying this stuff is so cheap, and it's just going to build up more and more of our debt, the deficit will grow every year, and then pretty soon there's no more private insurance left, and everyone's got to be on the government insurance.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, again, that's the thing about socialism. It's just one step or a couple steps away from communism. And that's how it
Right.
always is. When you're trying to talk about public option, what does that really mean? Because you've said that you've used Bernie Sanders' talking points and language when talking about healthcare. just like the Green New Deal, which we'll go ahead and get in that now because I don't want to spend too much time on climate change. But just like the Green New Deal, you say you don't want it, you don't want the Green New Deal, but yet the Green New Deal is on your website, right? Like, what do you actually want, right? Like, where are you at on the political spectrum? You can't keep up with this double speak. Tell us what you want, and then we can decide from there. And that's why I said Trump does a great job of making Biden do that, because he's trying to ride the fence to try to get the progressives and the left of center Democrats on board, with his plan that is really non-existent, and you don't really know what the guy wants at this point. But I mean, it's not that I believe Biden is far left. I just think that he's playing political games in the sense that he's not trying to align with any side. He's not trying to show what he actually values, and trying to keep the pressure on Trump when really the pressure should be on you, because you're the one coming in. We need to know what you plan on doing. I know what I'm getting out of Trump. I know what he stands on healthcare. I know he's where he's at on a lot of these issues, but I don't know where you're at. So you need to take a side.
Yeah, he did, absolutely. And I think that's why I said tonight that they're throwing out this number saying basically it's only about 4% of the country that's actually fully undecided. But think about it, that's what determines every election, right? I mean, the last couple elections, it was 2.1%, and Hillary still lost. So you could lose by two. So anywhere in that 2, 3, 4% window, is where the election's going to be determined. So I think that if you were undecided and you watch tonight, Trump is the known quantity that makes you feel comfortable somehow. Somehow watching those two guys, the way he performed tonight, you're sitting there thinking, like, this guy's got energy and he has an answer for everything. Biden only has a notepad that somebody gave him. Trump didn't need to look at anything. He actually knows this stuff. He's actually done it. And again, Biden has never been a leader. He was the vice president. He was basically just an empty suit there. And he just went and said whatever he was told to say and just took a back seat. He doesn't know how to lead, and Trump's done nothing but lead his whole life. And I think the people who are those true undecided see a steady hand with Trump, because for as much as they like to say he's erratic and that he could flip at any second, he's the one that's creating all these peace deals. He's the one that got somehow unemployment rate that was at 4% even lower. He got record low unemployment for everybody. So he's kept such a steady hand with this country that the only knock they got on him is COVID right now. And I think he did a great job, all things considered.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're going to move on to Trump immigration. So Trump on immigration. I think he did a great job. Biden, why did you create those cages? Why did he kept hitting them on that?
Right?
And I love that.
Cages, Joe.
I love that. I love that strategy. I love the strategy of hitting him with the hard question and not letting him dodge, not letting him get away with not answering the question, right? Joe, why did you build those cages? Joe, why did you build those cages? Why did you have those cages in the Obama administration? What is your immigration policy? You are so pro-immigrant. Why didn't you not do this under the Obama administration? Why did you not get immigration reform passed, Joe? And also, one thing about immigration I want to say is this. They want to use this sad story, this story that came out about a boohoo 500 kids got separated from their parents at the border. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I don't care if they came over here with their parents or they came over here through drug cartels. There's a philosophical argument for refugees that my friend made to me, who's a philosophy guy, that I think really stuck with me. Is there a difference between refugees coming over here to escape war, or somebody coming to the border saying that they're hungry and they have famine? Is there a difference? Because if we let people in for war, right, shouldn't we let people in for famine? Because famine kills more people than war. Mm-hmm. So if the ultimate question is, we got to let these people in because they go back to their country, they might die. If somebody comes to the border and saying, I'm hungry, I don't have any food, if you don't let them in, they might die, and it's most likely they're going to die from famine. Do we let them in? And at the end of the day, you got to look at it like this. We can't incentivize people coming over here to the border and just saying that they're going to come up, they're going to just get into this country, because then it means everybody's going to start doing it. It's one of those things, it sounds heartless, but that's the practical logic behind it, in my opinion. And I'm not a heartless person. Like, I want people to come over here, but you need to come over here legally. You need to go through the process. There are times where, people are escaping war and, they are, trying to get away. But at the same time, we have to be practical. We have to put America first. We have to protect us first. That's what we have to do. You see what's happening in Europe. I mean, you got, those immigrants coming over there, and every time you look, somebody's getting beheaded in France or Germany or, one of these parts in Europe because they're letting over too many refugees, too many immigrants that haven't um, assimilated into the culture, right? When you have too many different cultures trying to assimilate too fast, um, you get negative connotations from it. There's negative externalities. And again, I'm not a heartless person, and I feel for the 500 kids that separated, but your parents shouldn't be just bringing up to the border recklessly. Sometimes you got to solve your own country's problems. I know it sucks. I know it sounds heartless, but I'm just keeping it real.
No,
I'm not. Go ahead.
no, you said it right there that that you need to assimilate. Like, look, my family came from Italy, but they served in the military. They're some of the most patriotic people. They've donated monuments for 9/11. They wave American flags, right? And you can still keep some of your culture, but you need to be American first,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, I don't care where I go. I can say, oh, I'm Italian American. People can be hyphenated all they want, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and that's what's supposed to unite us. And there's there's an idea about being American that if people come here and they don't accept that, if they don't accept that there's a certain principles and morals and values that we have, then they shouldn't be here, right? Because you don't come here to change what this is. You come here because it's better than where you were. It's providing you something you didn't have there, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's just the freedom to be whoever you want to be, right? But you didn't have that. So to come here and try and push like people like, Ilhan Omar would come here, they just want to knock this country, say how bad it is, and preach about how great it is all over the world, then go be there because there's no place better. If you can't make it here, you cannot make it anywhere in the world. And you really don't deserve to be here if you think there's somewhere better because there really isn't, man. For all the people that love their countries and come here, there's great cultures, but it's not as good as that, or you wouldn't be coming here, you wouldn't be coming here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like I said, I'll never forget. I was on a cruise and I saw Cuban immigrants on a raft in the middle of the ocean, um, just trying to get from Cuba, this socialized country with socialized medicine that everybody loves so much, trying to get from Cuba to the United States. And that forever stuck with me because it showed how great this country actually is and how desperately people want to get here. But unfortunately, we can't take everybody. You got to come here legally. And there's negative externalities. There's negative things that happen. There's terrible things that happen at the border. That's just the nature of reality. So again, I mean, I think that those 500 kids, hopefully they're reunited with their parents, but their parents should understand the risk of coming up here. I'm not saying don't. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is understand the risk. Understand that you might be separated from your child because of how, the legal system works. But, if you want to take that risk, that's on you. If you get in, great. I mean, hey, I'm not going to, be a dick. But at the same time, I would rather you come here legally and come by the law. So I don't handle that. I don't really, I try not to get too deep into it. But I just think philosophically, a lot of the liberals are too, they look at it in too idealistic. I try to be realistic about how the world works.
Right. And somebody just said here that I had a point, but the Democrats are just using this to secure power by getting 11 million votes, which is a lot, which, yeah, of course that's a lot. But here's the thing, and I truly believe this, and I hope the Republicans focus on this. The only future of the Republican Party is to get the Latino vote because obviously they're going to keep working for the black vote, but that's going to be really hard beating that racism drum because it's been going on for so long, right? That it's been going on for so long with the history that we have with black Americans. It's so hard to separate that. But with the Latino community, I think they're conservative people anyways, and they're just getting sucked in to the Democrats' nonsense, right? To tell them, oh, they're against you. When they said that tonight about Trump talking about the rapist and everything with Mexicans, he should have said, do you think that has anything to do with how tan they are? It's because they're brown or not? it's because I don't want rapists and murderers and gang members and drug dealers coming here. It has nothing to do with what color their skin is. That's ridiculous, right? But they never address it that way. I don't know why, but that's the truth. We don't care. I don't I'm a pretty conservative guy, and I don't know anybody that doesn't like Mexicans because they say like they're brown or they're Mexican or whatever. If what they don't like is some illegal immigration because it's unfair to people who want to come legally or people who are working at low wage jobs that have to lose them because people are hiring illegals, they don't like that. But I don't know anybody that's against them for being Mexican. And I think we need to appeal to them more because really they're religious people. They don't like God getting pushed out of everything. They don't really support abortion. They don't support a lot of socially conservative issues, whether it's gay marriage or anything. They're really not into any of that stuff. So I think that's the community that the Republicans need to court. And I think most legal Latinos or Hispanic Americans don't want illegal immigration. They just don't. They know that they had to come here and work hard, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I mean, again, most people that come here legally are like, yo, go through the legal process. We don't want legal immigration because they know. Here's the thing, man. I hate to say this, but every community except the black community realizes that if you have a bunch of people come over here, they're going to compete for your jobs. They're going to compete for your living. Everybody in this country has to compete. That's what makes us great. You got to compete against the next guy. If you let illegal immigrants come over here, um, and and just open borders, you're gonna have to compete with those people, right? They're gonna be willing to work for less. They might be willing to work harder than you. They might be willing to do things that you may not be willing to do. So you got to understand there's a negative externality from letting these people in, and the Hispanic community realizes that. That's why they're not as pro, immigration, illegal immigration, as the Democrats try to make them out to be. But you're right. I think Candace Owens talked about this. The Hispanics are the new blacks, right? Well, that's the community that everybody got to try to appeal to and everybody got to try to win. And a part of that is because the Hispanic population is growing so fast, which is why us in the black community should not be so against abortion, right? Because we need our
Right.
population to get up so we don't get, turn into third class citizens behind the Hispanics. And I'm not trying to be like, a type of person was like, oh, we need to compete against the Mexicans and all that. No, that's not what I'm
Right.
saying. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, population numbers do matter. And the Democrats understand this, the Republicans understand this. That's why the Hispanic
Hmm.
community is so focused on all the time. That's why they want to, instead of when they talk about race, and we can go ahead and segment into race. That's why when they want to talk about race, they always want to talk about people of color. They want to talk about minorities. They don't want to be specific because they understand that most people of color in this country are Hispanics. Most minorities are Hispanics now. They understand who they're really trying to appeal to. And they're just eager to throw black people in that whole Hispanic people of color circle because they know that okay, well we don't have to really appeal to them directly if we're just trying to appeal to everybody. And the left loves to do that. They love to throw everybody in this circle and this group and say, okay, this is who we're trying to appeal to. All y'all gonna get the same thing. All you guys are the same, and that's just not true.
Yeah. And somebody said, who cares about race here? And I don't think that it's about race as much as it's about a cultural issue, right? Like it's that I don't like when I say Mexican people, there's Mexicans that are white. There's Mexicans with blonde hair and blue eyes. There's Mexicans that are like Afro Latino and they have some black. You know, it's not about that. I'm saying that the culture of people from where they come from, there's certain, religions and morals and traditions, even most Latin cultures where the man's still the head of the household and, patriarchal society, whatever you want to call it. And their traditional gender roles, right? They're not about transgender and, you know, gay people adopting babies. Not that I'm even so much against that stuff. It's just they're not in support of that. So it sounds like they would fit in being conservatives. And I think that it's strange that they get sucked into being liberals. But that's a whole nother thing. Like I said, those are all groups. All groups of Democrats are people that are just single issue, race, gender, whatever they are, voters. And I think we could really do a better job expanding the Republican Party if we just focus on values and what we can do to help you help your family, which is basically give you more freedom.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And at the end of the day, we all Americans. So I just want to make that clear. We are all Americans at the end of the day, and what's best for America is best for everybody. But the Democrats do play the race politics game. So you know, and to be quite honest with you, they are winning to a certain extent on the front. So we gotta, unfortunately, we have to play that game too, and we have to be able to speak that language in order to try to win and try to turn the conversation. Now, when they started talking about race at the debate, I thought that was an interesting conversation because isn't that when Joe Biden called President Trump Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah,
And
that's someone asked about that too, and I think it was somebody said in a super chat,
yeah,
like,
he
did you
did.
guys catch that?
Yeah, bad bodyguards. Dude, I appreciate you always donating on the super chats. Guys, I don't ask for any money. I'm not doing this for money. But when you do, give your super chats, I do appreciate it. And Bad Bodyguards has been very consistent about that, and I really, really, really appreciate it. So shout out to him. But yes, I did catch Joe Biden calling President Trump Abraham Lincoln and calling the Proud Boys the poor boys.
Right. That was great because he didn't even get to bring up the Proud Boys because he said poor boys and then he never corrected it. And I think a lot of people didn't know what the heck he was talking about. So that was that was good on his part. And the Abe Lincoln thing, I think it's funny that President Trump didn't notice why he was saying that because I think it was a stupid joke on Biden's part, but he said that because Trump said he's the done more for blacks since Abe Lincoln and he's the least racist whatever, and just was bringing up he compares himself to Lincoln in that sense. So he was just calling him Abe Lincoln to be a smartass, basically. And then Trump was like, "Where did Abe Lincoln come from?" And it's like, well, you had brought it up, but he was just taking it a step further. He's like, "I never said I was him," you know. So it was just a weird moment where I was like, "Okay, I guess that I didn't think it was particularly important, though, you know, as far as a takeaway."
Yeah, man, it was, and honestly, I hate that question. Right? Well, they spent 3 or 4 debates talking about race in America, and then every time you look, black people always talking about they don't talk about us. You don't talk about, bruh. Every single debate, they got a conversation about race in America, bruh. Like, what more do you want? Like
I
every
know.
debate, and honestly, it's a waste of time. I mean, they talked about not they was debating not having foreign policy talked about, but y'all threw race
Yeah.
in there. Like we could have, 2 topics we could have kicked out. We could have kicked out Corona, and we could have kicked out race,
Mm-hmm.
and we could have talked about the economy more. We could have talked about Joe Biden's tax plan. Oh my God, why did we
Right.
not talk about Joe Biden's tax plan in this debate?
I know.
Why was that not talk? This is the last debate.
And you want to know the craziest part is she should have been like a hyper partisan, and she was the most fair person so far. Like between Chris Wallace and then that Scully guy had to step down, she did a better job than Chris Wallace for sure. You know what I mean? And he's supposed to be the Fox guy, and they acted like Trump got a fair shake. Not that she wasn't biased and that she wasn't favoring Biden, but I was surprised by how well she handled it. And obviously those questions, I don't know if she wrote them or they're given to her, but they favored Biden, you know, pretty much the whole topic selection and then the way they were phrased. But I think Trump did a great job with what was thrown at him,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
absolutely. He really, again. This is probably the second best thing that Trump did this debate is he really hit Biden hard on the crime bill. He really hit him hard on the crime bill. He talked so much about how Biden locked up so many black people, and I think that is a message that a lot of people need to hear.
Put
And
it
I'm
this way,
glad.
Greg, it resonated with me. So I don't know how you felt hearing it as a black male, but
Yeah,
I felt that like when he said you locked up tens of thousands of got people, and he said and they're mostly black males, and he's like, and now you want to try and let him out, or like now you want to fix it, and he's like, they don't forget that, and it's true. You think about all the families that lost dads, uncles, grandparents, whoever in the '90s off of that bill, that families were torn up. And if you're a black male sitting there and you had somebody in your family that happened to because of that, and you hear him say that directly to you, and you see Joe Biden smiling on the other side trying to laugh it off, you know, I just think that was to me on race, that was the most powerful part of the debate.
it was. And I don't know if you noticed, you caught this, but when when Trump brought up the crime bill, the first thing Joe Biden said was, "Oh man." His immediate reaction told me exactly. exactly what I need to know about how Biden felt and how he knows this is his Achilles heel. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not that he's, strong or anything like
Yeah.
that, but
If he has an Achilles.
yeah, exactly. So, but this is where his biggest weakness is, and Trump really hammered him hard on that, and I was so glad to see that. I thought that was a great moment in the debate, and like I said, man, Trump just did a good job of preparation this time. And it was weird to me because he seemed a lot more prepared, even though leading up to the debate, he was doing a ton of rallies. He was doing a bunch of interviews at the White House. I'm like, damn, this dude is a workaholic. You know how
Yeah.
when he first got into office, there was like Trump watches Fox News like 5 or 6 hours a day. Like
Right.
he didn't do this. I'm like, nah, you don't show up to this debate and say the things that Trump said and perform the way he performed if he's sitting around watching news all day. You
Yeah,
know?
but I think it's natural. That's the thing about him, that I'm not sure how much he prepared as much as how much he just knows this stuff, right? Like, this is Trump. Like, when he just seemed so like lasered in because they told him. That's what was impressive to me. He really didn't interrupt once. Like, it's not that he was doing it and the mic was off. Biden did it a couple times where I noticed his mic was off and he tried to say something, like he said that's not true, whatever, when Trump was talking, and they had it off during the 2 minutes. They cut Trump's mic once at the end of his 2 minute answer, but there was never a time he really interrupted. And I think his team told him, look, come out, do not interrupt, don't be screaming, just try to be measured, act presidential, and just beat him on the issues. Get in your zingers when you can, but do it with some grace. And he just did it. It's like he did the same thing in the first election. Those last couple weeks, he just stayed on message and stayed on message and just kept going and doing those rallies. And I think he's going to go back into that now, because he can let the other people talk about these issues with China and Ukraine and Joe taking dirty money. Those stories are kind of going to take care of themselves. All he needs to do is mention them for 30 seconds or a minute at a rally, and that's it. And the rest is going to take care of itself. But if he just stays on message, I think the voting numbers are starting to show it. And I think the Republicans are really amped up, and I think he's going to win. I think he did it tonight with the best he could.
Yeah.
Nothing more he could have done.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree with you on that. I think this is the best debate performance I've ever seen from President Trump. I think he did, great on the issues. Like I said, immediately afterwards, I was listening to, a little bit of the post debate just to get a quick immediate reaction in terms of how the media was kind of reacting to it, and they was all up in Joe Biden's pocket. Talking about, oh, he did so well and blah blah. I'm like, bro, what debate are y'all watching?
Right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, what debate are y'all watching? I mean, seriously. I mean, like, you either don't know the facts, or you're just biased. No matter what Trump does, you're going to give Biden the win. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I'll be the first person to tell you that first debate with Trump, I felt like he won on the issues, but he lost in terms of his demeanor. And I'll tell you that.
Style. He lost on style, for sure. It was just, that wasn't how you wanted to do it, because even people, like I said, my wife had to walk out and just say, I can't even listen to this. It was giving me a headache and it was making people uncomfortable. Nobody really wanted to see that. But like I said, I thought he won the debate just because I was concerned with, and I think that's how we are as conservatives. We just care about the substance. So the Democrats, that gets to more is how you act, if you're nice, if you're this way, if you're that way.
Man.
But we care about results. So for me, he still won, but I'm not a hard sell. It was easy for me.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. I think the Democrats are too emotional, man. Like, every time I talk to somebody about Trump, the only thing they talk about, well, he said this, he said that. Okay, well, what has he done that you don't like?
Right.
What has he actually done? There are certain things, again, I don't love everything President Trump does. So if you want to talk to me about things that he's done that you don't like, okay, great. Right? We can have that conversation. But don't talk to me about things that he says, because quite honestly, I don't care about what he says. He's a politician. He's a businessman, but now he's a politician, right? So he's going to be a politician on certain issues. And it is what it is. So I'm not going to sit here and try to nitpick everything he say. And then also on top of that, half the things that you guys cite that he says have no context, right? They're missing the context. They're missing, because the media has clipped it up and shown it out of context, where you don't really understand exactly what he's saying, like the what they said, the Charlottesville thing.
Yeah, very fine people thing.
Yeah, that is the one thing that they love trying to play up. And when you go and look at the transcript, it's like, oh, he was talking about how there was people that just didn't want the statues to come down. You know, people that really felt, strongly about their history. Like they felt strongly about having it up. You know, and just like on the other side, the people that were wanting to take the statues down, very fine people, right? Like again, what are they saying? The problem is that they want to throw everybody that doesn't agree with the left in this one bucket. You're racist if you don't agree with anything that we say, no matter what the nuance is. You're racist if you don't agree with what we say, and you have to agree 100%. And that's why I can't deal with the left because you can't have a nuanced conversation. One thing as a conservative, I can disagree with people, right? We can disagree on certain
Right.
issues. We don't agree on certain issues, right?
Right.
Like, but we can still talk to each other, disagree respectfully, and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
And
not
look,
gonna cancel me because we might disagree on whether or not climate change is real or not, right? Like
right.
it is what it is. We both want President Trump to win. We're both conservative. Like we're on the same team. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And this just goes to show you is look how they've keep trying to make COVID a racial issue and saying, oh, it's hitting, communities of color at like higher rates or they're having worse outcomes or whatever. And if you really wanted to play that game with them and entertain that stuff, you could explain those things without anything to do with racism. You could say, oh, well, if those communities are poorer, right, and they have worse diets, and they guess what? If you look at the statistics, there'll be higher rates of diabetes, heart disease. And then they'd try to go to those things and say, oh, that's because it's racist too, right? But at the end of the day, those pre existing conditions exist more in those communities. They would like you to think that somebody comes in the hospital, they're black and got COVID, and then the doctor says, oh, well, he's black, you know what, let's let him die. Or the same thing with mothers who have, infant mortality and stuff like that. Those numbers exist in every country among different races, right? There's just different complications. There's different things that happen. But their whole go-to is find a way to make those things racism causing it. It can't just be that there's differences in communities. Those differences always have to be caused because somebody's got a racist agenda. And for them still, even Joe Biden saying it, imagine you have one nominee. When's the last time has that ever happened? One nominee up there calling the other one a racist blatantly.
Yeah.
In 50 years it hasn't happened. And you think somebody got elected in 2016 who was openly racist? You really think president they believe it. And if they don't, it's even worse. But I think they really believe it. And they go into all these issues, like you said, Charlottesville, that's their go-to, and it's not true. And that's their main one. Like when you ask people why is Trump racist, they go to that moment. And
Yeah,
that's
or
not
the
the
Mexicans
case.
are rapists, and
Right,
they go to that one too. Where it's like,
right,
again, out of context.
right. And it's not because there are Mexican rapists and drug dealers. It's because he's saying that because they're brown. Based on what?
Yeah.
Like, it can't just be.
And I want to touch on that disparities a little bit because they love talking about disparities, and Thomas Sowell does a great job of his book Discrimination Disparities, and some of his videos. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a
Oh,
famous
yeah.
black economist that
Yeah, he's great.
conservatives love. But he talks about disparities and how they're basically innate in society. Like you're gonna have disparities no matter what. And I think it's interesting. Like I don't have a problem talking about disparities, but we're gonna talk about disparities. Let's talk about all the disparities, right? Let's talk about the disparities in black fathers and households, right? Let's talk about how there was a video of Ti for his birthday in the club in Atlanta with no mask, no social distancing, no nothing, mainly minorities. But yet these are the same people that's gonna turn around and talk about, oh my God, COVID's affecting us disproportionately, this, that, and the other. They're gonna be the same people that's gonna complain, even though they're out living their lives. And that's what most people do. That's what these liberals are doing. They're out partying, drinking, doing what they need to do, having fun with their lives, but then turning around and blaming Trump for why, COVID's such a big deal.
Yeah, and that's what people are going to constantly do is look for that's what's on that side though, right? Is to find somebody else because the second you take that personal responsibility, that means you got to do something. So it's a lot easier, but I just want to address something somebody said up here. They were like, Tory J, as much as I agree with everything y'all saying, as I'm a conservative, there's no way you can agree with Trump saying stand back, stand by in regards to Proud Boys. And if you haven't seen it, I made a video on that. But to sum it up in 30 seconds, I'll just say that Chris Wallace asked him, will you condemn white supremacy and will you tell them to stand down? And then he said, yes, sure. He said, sure, that he would condemn it. And then he said, but who are you talking about? Give me a name. Biden yelled out Proud Boys, and Trump was trying to say Proud Boys stand down, and he said stand back, stand by. He literally said both of those things like he was just trying to say whatever Wallace told him to. He said stand down, he said it. I don't think Trump even knew who the Proud Boys were. Biden yelled it out, Wallace said stand down, and that's basically it. Now you don't even got to watch the video, but again, that was another moment that if you're saying you're a conservative and you believe that, so then anybody in the middle could believe that, and then everybody on the left believes it. And that's the problem, that they go in on these one thing, and then when you watch it back, you're like, Trump was just saying whatever they wanted him to say. He wasn't ordering them. It's just, that's the problem we have, is that they take one thing out of context, like you said, Charlottesville, Proud Boys, and this is what you end up with. And that's not the case.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like it's stuff like that that really irks me when people get so caught up on, well, Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. Diddy was talking about that. And I'm like, dude, do you realize, like, context? Trump didn't know who the Proud Boys were. I didn't know who the Proud Boys were. Right? I think Trump does not like, you can see that President Trump, he does not like to speak on things that he don't know. When they asked him about, I'm not going to name a certain conspiracy that involves, Trump being the savior of the world because Hollywood, pedophilia. I'm not going to say the name of it because, YouTube, block you. But at the town hall, when Savannah Guthrie tried to press him on that, he was like, listen, I don't know about it. Right? Like, I know that child, pedophilia is wrong, but I just don't know about this group. I don't know enough about it to speak on it. And Trump does not like speaking on things he doesn't know about. And I think that comes apparent when it comes to certain groups, because they can get you into the gotchas where you start to, say you don't agree with certain things, just because they're trying to frame it to you as this is bad, and they try to educate you on it. No, I'm not going to rely on you to educate me on this. I'm going to educate myself on it, and I'll get back with you in terms of whether or not I agree with it. But I'm not going to sit here and let you tell me, what such and such group stands for or who the Proud Boys are. Stand back, stand by. Let me figure out who you guys are, and then I'll figure out what I need to do. But the man has denounced white supremacy 1,000 times. Proud Boys are not a white supremacist group, so I don't really understand exactly what the issue is here. The Democrats have pulled the Proud Boys out of their butthole, like literally, to try to, you know what I'm saying, to try to, pull out some group. And it's like, we haven't talked about Antifa once. We have not talked about Antifa.
Think about it. That never came up. And again, I just, some of these people I see in here, this Chris Jacobs, he said 4 times, he's asked me, Mario, thoughts on climate change? Do you think climate change is real? I don't think he's a troll, but I'll just say, I don't know. I think the climate changes. I do believe that we can contribute to it. I'm not totally against the science and saying, oh, there's no way there's global warming. Like, there's people that know more than me about things that I'm not as concerned with. I don't want to see the planet destroyed. So I think that, put it this way, I think it's just like COVID. I think COVID's real. I think it's being used as a political tool to further an agenda, and that there's exaggerations on the impact that it's having because it serves a certain party, right? And I think climate change is the same way, that there's people who want green energy. They want to push solar. They want to push wind. They want to get rid of oil. And those are viewed as very political things. If you say somebody's pro-oil, somebody thinks, oh, this guy's conservative. He's from Texas, right? It's so tied in. And if I tell you somebody loves green energy or they drive a Prius, you think they're a liberal. So this thing it's so politicized that, as I think I've told Greg this before, but I'll just say, I don't want trash thrown in the ocean. I don't want thick clouds of smoke always going up into the air. I don't think that's good, regardless if it's changing the climate or not. But to keep it simple, I don't know. I'm not sitting here denying it, saying it can't be true. I'm just saying I don't know what all the facts are, and it's way out of my depth. And the way they explain it, sure, it can make sense. There's greenhouse gases that get trapped and everything, fine. But do I think that it's doing the devastation that they're talking about? No. Do I think the reason that there's more hurricanes, that there's really actually not more hurricanes, but that they say there is, it's because of climate change? No.
Yeah, he's asked that question a lot, and I feel like I've
I've seen it. That's why I said I saw it like 4 times.
Yeah, I've danced around it just because people. I mean, I feel like people. I don't know, but anyways, I'll answer the question. Yeah, I do believe in climate change. However, I don't know to what extent it's actually happening. I don't have the science on it. I'm not gonna pretend to be a scientist on it. I'm just gonna look at it like this, like, if it's changing, the question is what should we do about it, and and how we should go about it. Now, the Paris Accords, according to the scientists, don't go far enough. So if they don't go far enough, if the whole world is not going to get on board with, basically bringing us back to the Stone Age to stop this warming, then we shouldn't do anything. We should let the private sector handle it. And that's just kind of where I'm at, because even if we dropped our emissions down to zero, we're only 15% of the world's emissions. So that means we're not going to create a dent in it. Even if we bankrupted our country and went back to the Stone Age, it's just us. If we just did that, we're not putting a dent in it. So, again, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I always try to come at things from a practical perspective, and practically on climate change. Unless the whole world is committed to going back to the Stone Ages, then at the end of the day, like, we shouldn't be sacrificing our country for it. But it is weird to me that I live in North Carolina and we have 80-degree weather in December and January. So I think that is weird. And that again, I live in a state where usually when I was growing up, the winters were always cold, and now, as I get older, the winters, basically we don't even have winter anymore. It's like a cold spring. So
Hey,
that is happening, and I've noticed that. But again, at the end of the day, in terms of what to do about it, I don't have the answers on it. But like I said, I'm with Mario on this, is that I don't pretend to know more than I do know. All I know is that this is my personal experience. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. I want clean air. I want clean water. But, the sacrifice it's going to take to stop the warming that the scientists are saying are warming, if you believe the scientists, means that we're going to have to make the whole world go back to the Stone Ages. And countries like Africa, India, some of these developing nations have yet to even go through their industrial revolutions. So to me, it seems like whatever is happening, is going to be inevitable, and we need to rely on the private sector for a solution, because obviously China's not stopping. And I think Trump mentioned this. China's not stopping. India's not stopping. Russia's not stopping. None of these other countries are putting in the commitment that they're asking us to put in. So, if they're not going to do it, then, it is what it is. We might as well just rely on the private sector and just keep doing what we're doing. But we shouldn't be bankrupting the country with the Green New Deal and all this other spending for something that really, we don't really know. And that's just basically how I feel about it.
Yeah, and until they tell us, like, until they tell us, they never can. Like, if you tell them, oh, if we do this, what's going to happen? What do that? All they do is this existential crisis stuff where AOC says, oh, in 12 years, the country won't exist. Then it's 10, then it's 8, then it's 12, then it's 15, right? It's like, come on. Coming from her, I wouldn't believe anything, but still, you don't know what you're talking about, And unfortunately, there is an agenda with it, just like with COVID. Look how political hydroxychloroquine and treatments got, and certain doctors in certain parts of the world are saying one thing to push another thing, and everybody's going head to head on something that shouldn't be a political issue, but it is. And climate change is the same, right? So that 97% or 98% of scientists agree. I still don't believe that either.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I get it. I get the argument where people say where there's a, political agenda, where, these scientists may be making money to study something that they could be exaggerating about. But at the same time, it is what it is. I just feel like you go down a deep rabbit hole when you continue, when you are just blatantly saying, oh, all these people are wrong. I don't know. And I feel like it's okay to be like, I don't know. And I just go off my own personal experience in terms of what's happening in my state, and that's it. And at the end of the day, I can't control it, whether or not I believe it or not. It ain't gonna change whether or not it's happening or whether or not it's not happening. So at the end of the day, the government's gonna do what the government does. But I do think, I don't think pulling out the the Paris climate accords. I don't disagree with that, because again, if other countries aren't gonna commit, then why should we commit? And the scientists are saying, if you believe them, that it's not enough. It's not nearly enough. So what the scientists are saying we actually need to do you have to bring the whole world needs to go back to the Stone Age. That's basically what has to happen. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. I don't get too caught up on it. It's not a big deal in my opinion. But like I said, people, the climate change thing is interesting. But I think they spend too much. I really think, in terms of politically, when you're talking about the American people, in terms of what they care about, climate change is probably at the bottom. And they keep
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about it at the debates, and it's like people can't worry about the climate. Andrew Yang made a good point on this. When he used to talk about this during the Democrat debates, is that people can't care about the climate until we can get the economy right. and to, people feeling good about, where we're headed economically, have their monies in their pockets. You can't worry about things like that when you're trying to figure out how to feed the family, right? When you're
Yeah,
trying to figure out how to, get by next month, like how can you worry about the climate? You know what I'm
it's
saying?
not fair to those other countries too. I think we said that before. That how are you going to tell Guatemala and Bangladesh and all these countries that we say are 20 or 30 years behind us, and the only energy they can afford is burning coal and having gas, and you know they're using fossil fuels to build themselves up, and that's what we did. For over a century, right? We've been using nothing but fossil fuels, and now that we're rich enough that we can have the luxury of saying, oh, let's try solar, let's try wind. Well, they can't do that. They need that cheap energy to catch up. So you're really going to hurt them, exponentially by saying that's got to be gone. You got to go green now, sign this agreement. I
Yeah.
wouldn't agree if I was one of their leaders either.
No, it's
Say,
not.
why am I going to do that?
And I think that's the strongest argument. All these countries have, like I said, they're going through their industrial revolutions. They're going to emit, carbon emissions. They're going to contribute. And, how can you tell these countries that, oh, America went through all this, they did all this, but we can't, unless we're willing to basically fund their green revolution and make them skip over, the industrial revolutions that they had. And that's just too expensive. That would literally bankrupt the world. There's no way. Right? So again, it's pointless unless we're gonna help all these other countries skip their industrial revolutions and get them all green energy and make China, India, and Russia and Europe lessen their emissions to the same levels that we are. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. As Chris Ritter has asked this same question multiple times. So he's just saying, would Biden say he would do differently about COVID, and how could he say that he wasn't mad at Trump for closing the borders? Basically, he said nothing. He just said he would listen to scientists, like Trump hasn't, even though he literally did everything Fauci said, and Fauci was wrong. And Biden basically just said, well, I would listen. And he said he'd give more money to like help schools and businesses reopen and build plexiglass or something. That was basically all he said. And then what was the other part of the question? Oh, and he said that he wasn't mad at Trump for closing borders. Yeah, and he definitely was. I don't know how he could say that because he tweeted about it and said he's xenophobic and it was a mistake or whatever he said. So Biden's a total phony.
Yeah, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to Mario. Just to plug him again. I know it's getting a little late here. I'm gonna wrap
Oh,
up pretty soon, but I want to make sure y'all subscribe to Mario. He's the man. We're gonna keep doing these live streams. I'm trying to get it on a weekly basis. But with these debates being on Thursday nights, I figure that after the election we'll hammer down something really consistent. Do you guys want to see us do a live stream on election night? Would you be down to do that, Mario?
whew. It depends how it's going. I think we could. Well, you know what the thing is. I think we could do it for a little bit and then just see how it's going. But
What do you? I
because
mean,
I'll tell you,
go
I was
ahead.
a mess last time, man. I'll tell you. At the time, I wasn't married yet, but I told my girlfriend at the time, was my wife. I said, "You got to stay away from me for like a day and a half. Like I got to prepare before this and after." I was walking around in my boxers with my hair is a mess. I look like I put my finger in a light socket. I was just like I was out of it, man, because I was so on edge about this election, you know? So I think that I think it could be helpful. So I might do it for like a half hour, an hour or something, like pop in. Maybe we could do it like at 7 and do like 7 to 8 or something. But I'm just thinking as it gets deeper, I don't know what, depending on how it's going, man. So I'm kind of nervous about it, to be honest, because I have all these data points in different counties I was looking at. Like I knew Trump won at like 7:30, 7:45 last time. I was telling everybody, I was calling people, I was crying, running around in my house, just like, he did it. And they're like, what are you talking about? The thing's still saying like whatever. And I'm like, no, these few counties, like he's way outperforming, like, so I had an idea of what's going on. So maybe it could be helpful to people, but I'll consider it. Let's just say that. I'm not going to commit to it though, because,
Come on, Mario. The
woo,
people want to. The
we're trying
people. The
to,
people want to see
here,
the
okay,
debate night reaction.
if I break 13,000 subscribers by election day, well,
Hey, but you did bring up an interesting question though, because I didn't actually think about it like this. Like, what would our reactions be like? What would our reactions be like either way, right? Like obviously, if Trump wins, we're gonna be happy, we're gonna be celebrating.
I'm
But if
crying either way, man. I'm crying
I'm
either way.
crying, you crying either way. All right,
Yeah,
all right.
tears of joy or whatever. You will see me shed tears on a live stream if we go on election night. That's what I can say.
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's just an idea. It's a thought. I mean, like I said, if the media is talking about it during that time, I mean, what? I mean, we could talk about it.
Yeah,
I,
I'm leaning more towards yes than no, just for the simple fact that I think, look, this is a post debate late night, and we got up to almost 500 people. Obviously, your channel's growing. We might be able to have 1,000 people on election night and really help people get some information, because it's hard to sort it all out, because even Fox, they were way behind with what was going on,
yeah,
so I like being able to get people information.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm sitting here thinking right now. I'm like, okay, if if Trump does happen to lose, like, what would my reaction be like? Do I just come up here and be like, all right, guys, just trying to go out in the street, right, and just get our pitchforks and blah blah blah, or is it like, do I sit on live and cry and and be mad, or what do I do worst case scenario? And I think that's something I was thinking about. Like that'd be interesting. Like it's a double edged sword in my opinion, going live on election night, because
Yeah,
we got skin in the game. We got skin in the
yeah.
game.
And then you know what happens? God forbid if Trump loses, we end up being like those people like Rachel Maddow and the Young Turks and all those people.
Oh
We end
yeah, when
we
we
end up
get
in a
memed.
compilation video. They're like, look at these two conservatives. Look at the guy in the Space Force shirt is crying.
Yeah,
Like,
conservative tears, crying.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I feel like
So,
I'm getting up there far enough where they're like, they might get my reaction and be like, look at this
oh
guy
yeah.
crying, on election night. So, oh man, we'll see. I'm actually undecided
Yeah.
on it now. I'm undecided on it. I don't know.
There we go. If we'll see how we're feeling. We'll do another one next week. And
Yeah, yeah,
then,
we can hit another one next week before. We can do one next week. Next
are
week.
there any like events coming up, like town halls or anything left? I mean, I know
I
there's
don't understand.
obviously rallies every day, but
They should have moved the debate to
the 29th,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they should have moved the debate.
yeah.
Um, they should have moved that second debate that they canceled to the last week. I don't understand why they didn't have a debate the last week of the election. I really don't understand. Like, what's the point? That's why I said the debate format just needs to be changed, in my opinion. They need to make them longer, or they need to split them up. Like, nah, we just talking about the economy this whole debate. This is gonna be the economy debate, right? Because otherwise, I just feel like we could have a lot more questions answered. There's a lot more content that we could get.
Oh yeah.
But
No, but there's something. Either way, we'll do another one, and maybe if we can lock it down earlier too, so then people can set reminders and get in, because it's hard. We got a couple hundred people now because it's after this debate, because this is pretty late. If we were doing this and it wasn't the debate right now, so I don't know where else we can keep this crowd going. Leo pissed me. I see
yeah,
him saying.
somebody asked what happened to Leo. Unfortunately, Leo will not be back on my channel, guys. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you. He really
Oh,
pissed me off when that last debate. So I can't afford it.
yeah. I got no comment, but
You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. Yeah, man. I mean, so that's all I got. I mean, it's getting up to 1 o'clock. I
yeah,
think we should probably go ahead and call
yeah.
it. I don't want to, because it's like, man, got 300 viewers sitting here.
I
But you
know,
know
I
what?
know.
Like, it's 1 o'clock. I can't be up all night. Y'all got to go to work. I got to get up and make more videos and do work. So, any last thing, Mario?
Subscribe. No, but seriously, but no, and I'll try to, if you guys do come over, I'm gonna try to do like solo live streams too, sometimes half hour, an hour, just take questions, whatever. But I think it's helpful to have us here talking, because, like I said, we've kept it as real as we can with you guys, and we have no agenda. We really don't. Like, we're just telling you how we feel, and there's nobody behind us. We don't have sponsors, So I think it's nice to be able to sitting here, and I like having questions from you guys. I think it's good that we can mix it up and get all different opinions in here. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right. All right, guys, it's been real. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Everybody that got in the super chat, thank you. I'll be releasing some videos tomorrow, and God bless. Good night.
See ya.
All right, I